Hello, beautiful beings. We're going to talk about what is EFT today, emotional freedom technique or therapy, sometimes it's called, also known as tapping. You may hear it most commonly called tapping, and it is such a super effective, simple tool that you can use for a number of reasons, most commonly for stress and emotions. Okay. The EFT it uses acupressure points, which is ancient Chinese medicine, right? Anybody ever been to acupuncture? We use needles to hit certain points. Here, we're going to use our fingertips to tap certain points, and you get the same similar effect as you would as putting the needle in. So that people actually go into therapy for physical things and use acupressure or tapping points as well instead of using needles, right? So we're using it for an emotional and energetic clearing, and it will help clear a variety of things. So whatever you're trying to work on, I bet you can tap for it. There's a tap for that, basically, we say. Here's a little chart of the points that you commonly tap on. There's some other points, and when I practice, I sometimes will bring in those other points, but these are the key 9 points that you have. Big common one, they call it here in this little image the gamut point, or the side of the hand. You might hear it called the karate chop point. There's the top of the head, there's the inside of the eyebrow, there's the side of the eye or the temple, there's underneath the eye, underneath the nose, the chin or under the lips, the collarbone, which is if you, I say, come down the side of the neck, find these points here right underneath that collarbone, and then tap there. And then underneath the arm. So the side of your arm, I'm going to put it right here, just in line with, basically in line with your nipple. And then there are some other key points too that sometimes, like I said, I'll add in. I'm not going to show them right now. There are emotional benefits to all of these acupuncture points, acupoints, acupressure points. I'm not going to go through this whole list right here. Feel free to pause and read through it. But basically, each point it runs along a meridian that has an emotional and spiritual and energetic and physical component to it. So this is just some of the things that can be cleared up by some of those points. Emotional frequencies. Talk about that because that's what we're really dealing with here. This is the scale, the map of consciousness, an emotional scale of the frequency of certain emotions. There are other emotions, obviously, but these are just some key core ones that we don't want to be relating down here. Neutrality, okay, that's where we want to get to, definitely. And we want to get above that, obviously. We fluctuate. We don't always reside up here in enlightenment. It's a goal, maybe, in peace and joy and love, but we fluctuate back and forth. We do not want to be stagnant down here. And oftentimes, when we are feeling stuck in life, when we are trying to make a change or a shift, we can get stuck down in here. And we don't know why. We don't have a conscious reason as to why. We might think we do, but usually there's a subconscious reason as to why, and that's where tapping really helps clear it out. So just a little bit of what the frequency looks like. And if you can see that when you're, I'm sorry, there's a fly flying around here, that when you're down in these lower vibrations, it's suffering, it's just getting by. When we can raise up into these higher frequencies, we are more in flow. More in flow, more in joy, more in happiness. And that's where we would like to reside more often, right? Tapping helps with that. The roots can run deep. Childhood imprinting, traumatic events that we've been through, not just in childhood, but often in childhood and also other times in life. Historical and societal programming, deep, deep stuff, and our ancestral or lineage connections. So family and family that we don't know, right? It can be epigenetically something that is coming through. tapping can help with it. And I just want to read this quote real quick. It takes awareness and effort to break the cycle of a thinking process that has become unconscious. Joe Dispenza is a he scientifically studies all of the ways that our brain evolves and the spiritual and energetic connections to it. So he says, first, we need to step out of our routine so that we can look at our lives. Through contemplation and self reflection, we can become aware of our unconscious scripts. Then we must observe these thoughts without responding to them so that they no longer initiate the automatic chemical response that produces habitual behavior. Within all of us, we possess a level of self awareness that we can observe our thinking. We must learn how to be separate from these programs, and when we do, we can willfully have dominion over them. Ultimately, we can exercise control over our thoughts. In doing so, we are neurologically breaking apart thoughts that have become hardwired in our brain. Your brain can do this. Your brain can do it with the assistance of tapping. Okay. So just remember that tapping, two key things that it does, soothes your nervous system, which we all need, and creates new neural pathways in your brain to solidify new patterns out of habits. So I'm going to go back to just this little chart of the areas that we tap. When you tap, you don't have to use just one or two fingers. You can. I prefer to use more open hands so that I make sure I'm not missing a point. You don't have to do both sides at the same time. You can do just one side at a time. You can switch back and forth. You can tap on one point longer than another if you'd like. Usually, if you're doing a guided tapping, someone's going to say top of your head, eyebrow, side of eye, and guide you through that. You can also just stay where you're at and not follow that, but follow the verbiage, maybe the scripting that's happening. So it's a very powerful tool, and I invite you to explore it more. This is something that we use throughout our transformation in order to find our flow and our cohort. And it is something that we will use often and that I absolutely want you to be able to use on your own.